In the distance I recognized the Vienne River and the distinctive mass of Chinon Castle near Tours, in Touraine. This was the very heart of King Henry's French domains. A party of about 20 horsemen was making its way slowly up the gentle slope in my direction. They were riding destriers, war horses, but none bore weapons or armour, which meant that they were either going to a parley or coming from one. The hay-scented air was absolutely still, and the noon sun blazed pitilessly overhead, although thunderclouds were building in the north. The cavalcade's snail-like pace was due to more than the summer heat, which might be hard on the horses, and was certainly good for the grapes, but must feel like the breath of hell to the dying man leading that procession. As they went by me, I barely recognized him. Henry, by the grace of God, King of England, Duke of Normandy, Aquitaine and Brittany, Count of Anjou, Touraine and Maine, Lord of Ireland. He seemed to have aged 10 years in the 6 weeks or so since I'd last seen him. He sat astride his horse, but it was being led by a mounted squire. A knight rode very close on either side of him, each ready to catch him if he started to fall. Obese and white-bearded, he was clearly in agony. For a third of a century he had ruled the greatest empire since Charlemagne's, extending for 1,000 miles from the Scottish border to the Spanish. I had a strong suspicion that it was not going to survive this parley. The men supporting him I recognized as Sir William Marshal and Geoffrey Fitzhenry, Bishop of Lincoln, commonly known as Geoffrey the Bastard, big men both. The last horse to go by me was a sumpter, bearing a bundle of poles and canvas that might be a small tent, but I guessed was a litter. Until very few years ago the king had been an avid hunter, able to outride almost any man in his retinue. How are the mighty fallen? And up ahead, in the shadow of the towering plane tree, 3 men were waiting there, 2 of them on horseback, with an entourage of supporters and horses standing nearby out of earshot. One of the mounted men was unmistakable, a giant, well over a fathom tall, with a red-gold beard and icy blue eyes. Lord Richard, known as the Lionheart, the elder of Henry's 2 surviving sons, a mighty warrior and a shameless traitor. The other beside him was a much less impressive person, Henry's nemesis, King Philippe of France, 32 years his junior, his liege lord for all his holdings in France, and now his master. Philippe was short, ruddy, and seemed utterly insignificant, especially alongside the titanic Richard. He was reputed to be a clumsy and reluctant horseman, and certainly not a warrior, but he had no equal when it came to intrigue, scheming, and subterfuge. Standing beside the 2 horsemen was a tonsured clerk, clutching a satchel. I could see no fussy clerics in the background group, which meant that the parley had been set up by the participants themselves, not forced upon them by the church, and so it was a genuine effort to achieve something, not just another of the futile brothers in Christ's holy rituals that buzz like blowflies around all quarrels. I moved my point of view closer, hoping to hear what the horsemen were saying, but they were studying the approaching party in silence. So Henry was about to die. Triumph for Philippe. But what of his companion? Did Richard feel no guilt? The agenda would almost certainly include the English king's abject surrender. The feud had been long and complicated. Its ultimate cause was that Henry's duchies and counties covered the entire western half of France, but France was Philippe's kingdom, so Henry was his vassal, owing him homage for all those lands. Henry paid lip service to the principle, but he was not a man to truckle to an overlord, nor could he see any contradiction in the fact that he demanded absolute obedience from his own vassals, the earls and barons of England. The immediate cause, boiling up over the last year or so, was that all 3, King Philippe, King Henry, and Duke Richard, had sworn to go on crusade to help wrest the holy city of Jerusalem back from the Saracen heathens. Henry was now far too sick to think of going, but he stubbornly refused to name Richard as his heir. Many years ago he had so honoured his oldest son, another Henry, even having him crowned so that he became known as the young king. The result had been feud and rebellion. Ultimately the young king had died in a tournament, and King Henry had not made the same mistake again.